Do we know why Brooklyn has such a chip on his shoulder about his mum and dad?
It started, I think, with the wedding, and I think there was a little bit of a power struggle. I mean, it's also quite reminiscent of Harry and Meghan and his power struggle with, you know, his own family, and so it all began at their wedding.
Imagine, for a second, you're part of a family that isn't just a family. You're part of a machine, a global multi-million-dollar, perfectly curated machine. Since the day you were born, your first steps, your first bad haircut, your first girlfriend, it wasn't just a memory. It was content. It was brand Beckham.
Brooklyn and Harry teaming up, having dinner, discussing the similarities between their family.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you two spoiled, rich idiots.
For 20 years, Brooklyn Beckham was the crown jewel of that brand. He was the eldest, the one who was supposed to carry the torch. We watched him on the sidelines of football pitches, clinging to David's leg. We saw him sitting front row at Victoria's fashion shows, looking like the ultimate supportive son. The Beckhams weren't just a family, they were a fortress. They were Team Beckham. And in that world, the rule was simple. You show up, you smile, and you never ever let the mask slip. But then the silence started. And it wasn't the kind of silence that happens because people are busy. It was the kind of heavy, pressurized silence that makes your ears pop.
David has got a Hollywood star ceremony, which is kind of like a knighthood, but in Hollywood, where they get one of their, their name on a Hollywood star. And that's coming up before June, and that's going to take place less than 5 miles from where Brooklyn Beckham lives with Nicola in LA, and Brooklyn's going to snub that as well. So it's going to continue to play out awkwardly, which is very sad, really.
It started with a missed Instagram like, then a skipped birthday dinner. Then suddenly the world realized that the golden child hadn't been seen in the same room as his parents for months. This isn't just about a mother-in-law hating a wedding dress, though. Trust me, we're going to get into that Valentino versus VB drama. This is a story about what happens when a son decides he's tired of being a Beckham and wants to be a Peltz. It's about a billionaire father-in-law with more power than a small country, a mother who built an empire on control, and a young man caught in a tug-of-war between the family he was born into and the life he's trying to build. Grab a drink. We need to talk about the silence that's currently shaking the most famous dynasty in the world. This story is about understanding, not accusation, and every detail shared here is meant to bring context, not conclusion.
Brooklyn is the eldest of the clan. Where did it all go wrong? Was it the wedding to this American billionaire-esque daughter of Nelson Peltz?
Yes.
To understand how we got to legal warnings and digital blocks, we have to go back to Palm Beach, April 2022. The wedding of Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz was supposed to be the event of the century, and on paper, it was. A $4 million spectacle at the Peltz family's $103 million oceanfront estate. You had Serena Williams there. You had Gordon Ramsay. You had Mark Anthony. It was a collision of British royalty, the Hollywood kind, and American billionaire old money. But if you look at the photos now, knowing what we know, the vibes were off. The first crack wasn't a shout, it was a dress. For months, the narrative was that Victoria, the world-famous fashion designer, would be dressing her new daughter-in-law. It was the perfect PR win, a Beckham bride in a Beckham dress. But when Nicola walked down the aisle, she was wearing Valentino haute couture.
When you're that rich, by the way, is it maybe 2 or 3 outfits across the day?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, none of those dresses were made by Victoria Beckham, who just happens to be a world-famous fashion designer.
I know.
Not a good move, is it?
No, it really
If your
isn't.
mother-in-law's a famous fashion designer, you wear one of her frocks at some point, do you not?
No, you do, absolutely, and her frocks are lovely. I would wear them with absolute joy.
Now, Nicola later told Variety that Victoria's atelier simply couldn't do it in time. She claimed she wanted to wear Victoria's design, but the call never came. But insiders, they tell a different story. They describe a Cold War of he said, she said, where the Peltz camp felt Victoria was being difficult, and the Beckham camp felt they were being pushed out of the planning entirely. Then came the reception. Usually the first dance is the sacred moment for the couple, but reports surfaced that Mark Anthony gave a long, glowing tribute to Victoria. He reportedly asked Victoria to join a mother-son dance that Nicola wasn't expecting. Rumor has it Nicola stormed out of her own reception in tears. Think about that. You're a billionaire's daughter. You've spent your whole life being the protagonist, and at your own wedding, the brand Beckham machine takes over the microphone. That was the moment the line was drawn. It wasn't just a wedding anymore. It was a hostile takeover. After the wedding, things didn't simmer down. They went cold.
And then when it was David Beckham's 50th last year, the very public snub came when Nicola and Brooklyn refused to go. And the Beckhams do everything very publicly. Brand Beckham, of course, is huge, and it all plays out on social media.
In the Beckham world, social media is the ledger of your loyalty. If you don't post a happy birthday tribute with a carousel of 10 curated photos, it's basically a declaration of war. And for years, Brooklyn was the king of the love you mum posts. Then the 2023 documentary Beckham dropped on Netflix. It was a massive hit. It showed the family's grit, David's career, and Victoria's sacrifices. The whole family showed up for the premiere. They looked like a united front. But behind the scenes, the distance was growing. Fans started noticing announcing that Brooklyn was spending 99% of his time in the US with Nicola's family. He wasn't just visiting, he was embedding. He was taking the Peltz name, becoming Brooklyn Peltz Beckham. He was appearing in Peltz family photos, looking more at home on Nelson Peltz's private jets than he ever did in the Cotswolds. But the real ouch moment? Victoria's 50th birthday. This was a massive milestone. A Spice Girls reunion happened on that dance floor. Tom Cruise was there. Every single Beckham child was there, except for the one who used to be the closest to her. Brooklyn's absence was a neon sign. It said, "I have a new family now." And then the digital wall went up. We've all been there. You're annoyed at someone, so you mute them. But when you're a Beckham and you block your father, that's not a spat. That's a severance package.
He feels a bit in his parents' shadow, and he can never amount to anything in terms of, he tried to be a photographer. I think he tried football for a short amount of time. He also tried to, now he's trying to be a cook, isn't he? And I think that maybe growing up into such kind of greatness and fame might leave you a little bit messed up.
When Cruz Beckham, the youngest brother who's usually the chill one, reportedly confirmed that Brooklyn had blocked them, the internet went into a tailspin. Why block? Because when you're trying to reinvent yourself as a chef, a photographer, or a creative, and your dad is one of the most famous men on earth, every time he comments "love you mate" on your post, he's reminding the world that you're still just his kid. Brooklyn didn't just want space, he wanted to delete the association. We have to talk about Nelson Peltz, because you don't just marry into the Peltz family, you join a corporation. Nelson Peltz is a legendary activist investor. He's worth billions. He's known for being a tough guy in the boardroom, someone who buys shares in companies like Disney or Wendy's and demands they change. He's not a guy who settles for second best. When Brooklyn married Nicola, he didn't just get a wife. He got a mentor with more liquid cash than his own parents could dream of. For a kid who has struggled to find his thing, remember the photography book, the cooking show, the modeling? The Peltz family offered something the Beckhams couldn't, a clean slate.
And I think as well, he's maybe quite impressionable. I've spoken to friends of his, and I think that maybe Nicola's quite a powerful person and might be in his ear, you know, saying, "I don't think your parents are good people."
Insiders suggest that the Peltz camp views brand Beckham as a bit mid-tier. To a guy like Nelson, David and Victoria are celebrities. To Nelson, the Peltzes are power. There's a theory that Nicola and her father have been whispering in Brooklyn's ear, telling him he doesn't need to be the Beckham mascot anymore, that he can be a mogul in his own right, backed by Peltz money and Peltz connections. This created a clash of the titans. On one side, Victoria, who is the undisputed CEO of her family's image. On the other, the Peltz dynasty, who doesn't take orders from anyone. Brooklyn is the prize in the middle, and right now, the Peltzes are winning. This is where it gets dark. Most families argue at Thanksgiving and then don't talk for a month. Famous families, they use lawyers to communicate. Rumors have been swirling for months that a formal boundary has been set. We're talking about legal warnings or cautionary letters regarding the use of the Beckham name and the disclosure of family secrets. Think about why this would happen. David and Victoria have spent 25 years building a brand based on the perfect family. If Brooklyn, in his quest for independence, decides to do a tell-all interview or write a memoir following in the footsteps of a certain royal prince, it could destroy the Beckham business model. The Beckhams are rumored to have very strict NDAs for their staff. Does that extend to their children? Probably not. But when your son starts blocking you and spending all his time with a billionaire rival family, you start to worry about what's being said behind closed doors.
Brooklyn Beckham has sent a legal warning to his parents, David and Victoria, saying they are not to contact him or wife Nicola under any circumstances, only via lawyers. It's a cease and desist, what it's called in America. So it's very, very formal, and it's very corporate, and it feels like it's very final for him. He really doesn't want to try and mend this feud and this relationship.
The legal warning isn't necessarily a "I'm suing you." It's a "remember who you are and what's at stake." It's a corporate way of saying don't burn this house down. But to a young man like Brooklyn, who is clearly trying to find his own voice, that kind of legal pressure feels like a leash. And what do you do when you feel a leash tightening? You run further away. If you look past the headlines and the brand talk, there's a human story here. And it's the story of a mother losing her best friend. Victoria has always been open about how much she adores her kids. Brooklyn was her first. He was her baby. She was the one who defended him when the media mocked his photography. She was the one who pushed him to keep trying when his Cookin' with Brooklyn show was criticized. Watching her son drift away, not because of a fight, but because he's being absorbed into another family, has to be devastating. We've seen her at events lately looking different. The posh armor is still there, but the eyes look tired. There was a video that went viral recently of David and Victoria dancing together at an event. They looked happy, but fans pointed out how empty the front row felt without their eldest son. It's the empty chair syndrome, played out on a global stage. Victoria is a woman who thrives on control. She controls her diet, her business, her image, and her family. But you can't control a 25-year-old man who has found a new queen to follow.
It started with a power struggle between Nicola, I think, and Victoria Beckham. And the Beckhams tried to really kind of make amends, but eventually Brooklyn then relocated to America with Nicola, and I think kind of her family got their claws in, as it were.
Nicola Peltz isn't just a daughter-in-law. She's a replacement for the central female role in Brooklyn's life. And in the battle of Victoria versus Nicola, the silence is Victoria's only remaining weapon. She won't trash Nicola in the press. She won't cry on Instagram. She will just be perfect until it hurts. What Brooklyn is going through is actually something a lot of people go through, just with more private jets. It's the struggle to exist outside your parents' shadow. When your dad is David Beckham, one of the greatest athletes of all time, and your mom is Posh Spice, a fashion mogul, who are you? If you're good at something, people say it's because of your parents. If you're bad at something, they laugh at you for failing despite your privilege. Brooklyn has tried everything. He was a footballer, didn't work. He was a photographer, criticized. He was a chef, mocked. The silence between him and his parents might be the only way he can hear his own thoughts. By blocking the Beckham noise, he's trying to figure out what Brooklyn wants. If that means leaning into the Peltz world where he's treated like a prince without the Beckham expectations, can you really blame him? The problem is, you can't actually delete your DNA. He can change his name to Peltz Beckham, he can live in a Florida mansion, and he can stop taking David's calls, but he will always be a Beckham. The world won't let him be anything else.
But he started off okay. He did those disastrous cooking videos.
Yeah.
People were interested. He seemed that before she came along, it would seem that things were quite sweet within the family unit. It's only actually something's happened in the last couple of years.
It's the wife.
It's her family, I think, and
It's
his
the wife.
family. It's the wife.
It's the wife.
It's the wife.
Yeah.
So where does this leave us? Right now, we are in a stalemate. The Beckhams are in London and the Cotswolds, maintaining the everything is fine narrative. They post photos of Romeo, Cruz, and Harper. They celebrate their anniversaries. They look like a family of 5 now instead of 6. Brooklyn and Nicola are in the US, building their own brand Peltz Beckham. They are the new power couple. They attend the Met Gala. They do joint interviews where they drop subtle hints about family tension without ever naming names. The silence is the loudest thing about them. Every time a major family event happens and Brooklyn isn't there, the wall gets a little thicker. Every time Nicola posts a photo with her best friend, her mother Claudia, and Victoria is nowhere to be seen, the message is sent. This isn't a celebrity feud. It's a reorganization of power. It's what happens when a family business, and make no mistake, the Beckhams are a business, loses its most important asset to a competitor. The real heartbreak isn't the legal warnings or the wedding dress drama. It's the fact that, at the end of the day, these are just people.
They've got so much money that they have no sense of purpose. Brooklyn and Harry are similar in that they have absolutely no sense of purpose, and so therefore they're sort of drifting around trying to think that they're important. I mean, when Harry was good and looked after the veterans, then great.
Yes.
But then again, with Brooklyn Beckham, what do you do when your parents are so successful and so wealthy?
David Beckham just wanted his son to love football and stay close to home. Victoria Beckham just wanted her son to be part of the empire she built. Brooklyn just wanted to be seen as an individual. Nicola just wanted to protect her husband and her own family's status. But when you add millions of dollars, global fame, and brand identity into the mix, you lose the ability to just talk. You can't just pick up the phone and say, "I'm sorry," when you know that phone call might be leaked to the press or used in a legal strategy. The silence is a choice. It's a protective layer, but it's also a cage. If you think the Beckham silence is intense, you haven't seen anything yet. Because while one family is fighting through silence, another is fighting through noise. The Beckham-Peltz rift is the modern, celebrity version of a much older, much more dangerous story. A story involving a spare prince, a controversial author named Omid Scobie, and a monarchy that is currently panicking behind closed palace doors. Because when a son leaves a family business that happens to be the British throne, the silence isn't just about a wedding dress. It's about the survival of a 1,000-year-old institution. We're talking about leaked letters, endgame revelations, and a family that is realizing that their greatest enemy isn't the press, it's the people who know their secrets best. If you thought Brooklyn Beckham drawing a line was dramatic, wait until you see how Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are rewriting the rules of royal silence. The shadows are moving, and the truth is about to get a lot more complicated. Stay tuned for our next deep dive, The Palace Panic. This is Star Spotlight. Every spotlight has a shadow. We just find the switch.